In 2879, the Earth began to collapse, unable to generate itself. Oceans turned to wastelands and wastelands to deserts. The Earth had been exhausted, harvested dry. The citizens of Earth faced a grim future, with no way to grow food. They began importing goods from nearby planets as part of an interplanetary trade agreement. By 2882, Earth was the most in-debt planet in the first galaxy of men. In the face of this disaster, the local Earth food supply chain Woolforths has no other choice but to invest trillions into planet harvesting, much like the Dargets of the scavenger region. Within a century, Woolforths had become a multi-planet supply chain, and by 3010, it became the #1 food supply chain in all the galaxies, servicing every region of space. Giant harvesters would descend onto a newly discovered planet, capturing and sucking up the entire surface, to dump into the food treatment plants back on processing planets on the inner ring. Many scientists, philosophers, and everyday citizens questioned the sustainability of the planet harvest method and the destruction it unleashes on the habitat. With little alternative, Earth, like many smaller planets, continued to rely on the galactic mega-supplier, which had outgrown its humble Earth roots and moved its operations off-planet. Fast forward to 3101, the exploitative galaxy supply chain, where Woolforths had harvested planets dry, forever requiring fresh new planets in order to constantly feed the galaxies. With all planets soon to be exhausted, panic slowly rose on many of the smaller, less stable planets, whose regeneration plans would take several more decades to yield results for its population. When all seemed lost, it was a young stoner, burning moondrops into his eyes, on the Puggle Party belt, who looked up at the right moment during a trip. This unknown hero, spotting a distant sparkle, and incorrectly thought it was P9OL, a distant ice planet often seen at night, before calling the Space Roadkill Hotline and reporting it as an unknown space anomaly, or USA, the technical term for space junk. But it wasn't a USA. It was a distant planet named Eathens that had been discovered, abundant with wildlife and rich ecosystem and plentiful water. Unfortunately, the discovery of this planet coincided with the filthy famine of Woolforths, which occurred the same year. Upon the discovery of the new planet, the Woolforths set upon the ecosystem, accessing it as determined by the Pro-Sweater No Shoes group that there was another species already inhabiting the ecosystem. Woolforths detested such claims, but it was determined and declared in the High Cat courts that although the Eathens were of a lower intelligence, they are in fact a protected species, not for eating. The galaxy of the first men, of which Earth is a part, is known for its diplomatic and humanitarian approach to galactic matters. Many citizens of the planets in the galaxy of first men supported the cause for the Eathens' independence, but this cause was short-lived. When the 3102 food crisis hit, a referendum was held in the first galaxy of men over whether the Eathens really were a protected species. Arguments were heard and debates were held. The vote was back, with all the other galaxies watching. For if the first galaxy of men didn't uphold their own humanitarian approach, other planets would not be obliged to either, making the Earth a potential feasting ground for the human-eating Artkins. If successful, Earth would set the precedence for what counts as a species, which the Artkins could use against them later. But if unsuccessful, Earth, the first galaxy of men and beyond, would face the bursting food bubble, leading to a galactic famine and a dark age that could rival the 2100s. In a historic moment, it was one of the most successful referendum in all the galaxies, redeclaring the standard of which counts as a species protected from eating, thus allowing the largest planet harvest in history, with the effects still felt today. The Eathens are one of the most widely available and reproducible meats today. They grow fast, have lots of meat on them, and taste great as stook, kindle in your bun or thrown on the cyber grill. Woolforths also now makes microwavable Eathens. Just throw the Eathen bone sprinkles into the microwave and enjoy fresh Eathens wherever you are. The referendum is still celebrated annually on Earth during Eathen Day, on the first galaxy cycle of the 9 moons. Every year, the citizens of the first galaxy wear a synthetic hair stripe from an Eathen, a byproduct from slaughterhouses that genetically clone and kill these cute but tasty creatures. forever signifying our support of the memory of a soon-to-be extinct species. On an unrelated note, Eathens fat in the morning coffee is heaven on earth. Although Woolforths has long been celebrated for campaigning for the life-saving referendum which saved trillions from famine, some young activists today who have never starved in their lives will be out protesting Eathens Day, claiming that the referendum shouldn't be celebrated but instead shamed. Activists claim Eathens Day lead to the complete annihilation of the animal groups as they were harvested for food, continuing their campaign Justice for the Eathens. Fortunately for us, each species of the Eathens was carefully named and classified prior to packaging for cloning at a specialty lab. From here, the live Eathens are cloned, feed dollywhoop flies to fatten them up, and then ethically slaughtered by their fellow Eathens when they become too fat and weak-kneed to fight back. That's when specially trained lab technicians retrieve the Eathens' bodies for processing, where their bodies are crushed down into the meat shapes you're used to, with trillions of Eathens cloned and slaughtered every day. Now everyone can continue enjoying the beauty of these tasty species in any local Woolforths hologram dispenser today, and it's all done ethically since it was determined long ago in the high cat courts. Clones don't count.